Greetings from JTEC and welcome to another year of the Medicaid Administrative Claiming Program. The goal for the MAC program is to link students and families with medical services and Medicaid insurance provided under the Medicaid program. School staff routinely perform linkage and outreach activities during their normal workday. For this year, due to some changes, we have some highlights of what is new: accessing Washington Apple Health, a revised time study sheet, updated documentation requirements, updated form completion steps, and updated narrative examples. We see these changes as a positive move. Having adequate space on the time study sheet to provide complete narratives should result in the staff only dealing with the forms once, reducing the need for returning the form for corrective action and speeding up the approval process for the district. This is a plus for everyone. This training should provide you with the information to be successful, and we hope to make it as clean and easy as possible. For this training session, we suggest that all staff have a time study sheet, the Quick Start Guide, a copy of the Washington Apple Health Medicaid Insurance Form, and a copy of the narratives that was provided by the Healthcare Authority. All staff should sign in for their required annual training before participating. All materials are available on the JTEC homepage at www.jtecconsulting.net. Also listed on our webpage is the Washington Health Plan Finder website. Some important reminders, and these carry over from last year. You do not have to know whether a student is Medicaid eligible before performing a reimbursable activity. Recorded activities must represent a minimum of 7½ continuous minutes within a quarter hour to qualify for a tick mark. Forms must be completed in ink, supervisory signatures in blue ink. Your time study form must be completed on the time study day or within 5 school days if not present on that day, and must be reviewed by your supervisor and signed within 10 school days. Mistakes made on forms should never be covered over with whiteout. Strike through your mistake and provide the corrected information, initialing and dating your change. Enter your total paid time for day in the header, representing your total base contract hours. Your total time box on page 2 must equal your total paid time for the day, which is your base contract hours worked. Do not include unpaid lunches or extracurricular time on your form. Use the additional space provided on the new form to provide complete and sufficiently detailed narratives as described on the back panel of this guide as well as in the form instructions. If even more space is needed, use personal calendars or other activity logs to adequately document the activities claimed. As we look at filling out the time study sheet, look at your Quick Start Guide and we'll go through it numerically, steps 1 through 11. Number 1, enter your total paid time for the day in the box provided. This equals your base contract amount and must not include non-paid time of extracurricular time. It may include time before and after school that is part of your base contract. Number 2, track all activities performed during your day. Remember the principles of parallel coding and rules concerning a minimum of 7½ continuous minutes in any one activity before claiming it. Place A and B activity marks and total time in quarter-hour decimal format such as 0.25, 0.50, 0.75, etc. in the respective columns next to the activity performed. Note, tick marks and total time should match. To reiterate the parallel coding required by the Healthcare Authority, time study activity codes must capture all activities performed by you and distinguish Medicaid or medically related activities from similar activities that are not Medicaid reimbursable. The use of parallel activity codes ensures the time study captures 100% of the time spent on activities and allocates it to the appropriate code. This means time study participants must record time for non-reimbursable activities in the appropriate A activity code, as well as time for reimbursable activities in the appropriate B activity code. Narratives for A activities are optional, while detailed narratives for B activities is a requirement. Continuing on to Step 3. It's important. All B code activities require detailed narratives. These narratives must describe 1. What you are doing, 2. Why you are doing it, 3. Who you are doing it for, and 4. How the activity relates to Medicaid or Medicaid-covered service, medical, dental, mental health, substance abuse, vision or hearing, family planning. Additional narrative tips. When you are filling out the time study sheet with the required narrative in the B activities, we suggest that you refer to the HCA list of narratives. As you read the narrative samples under your B activity, for example a 9B, put your information in the spot or the blank in lieu of the HCA information. If you use some form of student ID, such as initials, which is advised by the HCA, along with the information of what, why, who, and how the activity relates to Medicaid or Medicaid-covered service. This should create a sufficient narrative. If you do not include this information in your narrative, you will need to have supporting documentation available if asked in the future during a monitoring or an audit. When filling out the time study sheet, you should also refer to the JTEC Quick Start Guide in the area listed as Sufficient B Code Narrative Examples. Number 4. Tally and total Code 10 activities, which include time spent during the regular day in staff meetings, paid lunches, not unpaid lunches, paid breaks, paid leave time, paid study training, or management of the time study process in your building, such as form distribution, collection, and or review by supervisors or coordinators. Step 5. Code 4 is only used by healthcare staff or counselors who provide direct medical or mental health care to students. This includes time spent by special education staff who are providing medical services. If applicable, total your direct provision of medical or mental health care time here. Number 6. Total all Code 3 time representing regular duties as defined by the form instructions. Total Code 3 time should represent the difference between your total paid time for the day, Step 1, and all other activities tracked on your form. Number 7. Participant must initial and date the bottom of page 1, certifying the information on the page is accurate and true. Number 8. In the total time box, combine the total of all activities tracked, codes 1 through 10. This combined total should equal the total paid time for the day, which is from Step 1. Number 9. Participant must sign and date your form using ink in the participant certification box. If that cannot be accomplished on the actual time study day, a 5 school day grace period is permitted. Box 10. Note to supervisors. Supervisors have 10 school days following the time study printed on the form to review it for compliance and reasonableness. If you approve of the participant sheet, sign and date it using blue ink in the supervisor certification box. Building principals are required to have their direct supervisor in the district office review and approve their forms in the same manner. Principals cannot approve their own forms. Important. All supervisors are responsible to review the participants' forms to ensure they are completed properly. This requires a review of the time provided, the presence of signatures and permitted dates, as well as an overall assessment of reasonableness related to the type and amount of activities claimed. Your review should also include a determination as to whether the narratives provided meet the requirements outlined in the HCA's instructions. Only when you deem the form to be fully compliant, sign and date it on the supervisor certification box within the 10 school days allowed in blue ink. Forms not signed by the supervisor within the 10 school day period are considered invalid. Step 11. Following supervisor review, if it is determined forms are out of compliance, sign and date the time study corrections box instead, promptly returning the form to the participant with clear instructions outlining how to bring them into compliance. Once corrected, provide your approval signature. Attention time study supervisors. Please note that the Healthcare Authority made a minor change on the signature requirements at the end of the time study sheet beginning the winter quarter, December 2014. If for some reason that you need to return a time study sheet to a participant for corrections, you need to sign and date when you returned it to them. After you have received the corrected time study sheet from the staff member, you need to sign and date that it's been completed as now in compliance. If for some reason you did not receive the time study sheet with the corrections, you need to check the appropriate box and then sign and date it. You will see that on the bottom of the time study sheets. If you have any questions, please contact your consultants. Scott Adolph or Jack Hitchcock will be glad to assist you. Thank you and have a great year.